Hello, today is Sunday, July 4th, 2021. Um, it always makes me think about the people who started the 1979 revolution in Iran. As much as I can blame the US and England, but Iranians themselves were the willing participant in the 1979 revolution in Iran. Khomeini had a long list of promises for Iranians after Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi's descent from the peak of throne. Khomeini promised Iranians that he would bring Allah's paradise from heaven to Iran. The capstone of his promise was the salvation of Iranians, and he was the only person who knew how to help Iranians reach salvation. The notion of salvation intertwined in Iran's history. Iran historically is a nation of spirituality and godhood. It's a nation that gave birth to the faith of Mitra and spread around the globe and practiced during the Roman Empire. Iranians have a thirst for God to reach salvation, as Prophet Zoroaster came as a savior of humankind and invited Iranians to a monotheistic faith. Iranians worship God and respect other faith groups. Now there is a clear and crystal understanding that the notion of salvation has a deep root in Iran's history, and Khomeini touched Iranian sentiment during his speeches. This paper aims to discuss Khomeini's accusation of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi as an agent of evil to spread corruption on earth. The intellectuals did not know what they were talking about Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi's domestic policy. This portion of the paper discusses how Khomeini accused Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi as an agent of Satan to spread corruption on earth. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi charged by countless individuals for moving Iran toward Western culture. He established state media, movie theaters opened in Iran, the center of arts and culture as men and women began to dance in folk music and European-style dances. The cleric class was against the media because women appear on television sets and read the daily news for viewers. The mullahs defined movie theater as unholy places because men and women came together and made movies. Painting a picture was against the Islamic faith because anything circular was against the Islamic faith. The oldest profession had a red district in Tehran, Iran, called New City or Shahr-e-No. During the 1979 revolution, the revolutionary forces attacked New City and burned down sex workers alive. Among the sex workers, Sakineh Qasemi, also known as Pari Bolande, Tall Fairy, was a notable figure who was a sex worker. In 1979 revolution, the revolutionary forces arrested Pari Boland and executed her on July 12, 1979, along with two other sex workers on charges of waging war against God. In 2008, General Reza Zarei, the Tehran police chief, was arrested in brothel with 6 prostitutes. His arrest caused embarrassment for the government of President Ahmadinejad because Zarei was in charge of vice in Tehran. The prosecutor in the case remarked that Zarei exploited his office to profit materially from prostitution. The exact number of prostitutes working in Iran is unknown. However, prostitutes are visible on some street corners of major cities. Many of them are run away from impoverished and broken homes. In 2002, the moderate Iranian newspaper Entekhab estimated close to 85,000 prostitutes in Tehran alone. Prostitution is rampant in Tehran. The streets are full of working girls, part of the landscape blending in with everything else. Police raids have also exposed child prostitution rings. An Iranian psychiatrist, Mehdiz Kamkar, believes the rise in prostitution is a symptom of broader social problems, among them troubled families, divorces, identity crisis, and social contradiction. Before the 1979 revolution, prostitution was confined to separate neighborhoods such as Shahr-e-No in Tehran. The new religious government demolished the district and punished prostitution with lashing. Establishing brothel is also a criminal act, subject to 1 to 10 years in prison, if not a death sentence. According to Farahnaz Salimi, head of the Aftab Society, an NGO for social damage control and prevention, about 10,000 female sex workers in Tehran. Among these sex workers, there are married women or female clerks too. According to her reports, the average price of having sex with a sex worker is 600,000 riyal, 15 bucks. The price can be as high as some 100,000, some for a right night. The lowest price is $50,000. Iran is a source, transit and destination country for men, women and children subject to sex trafficking. Organized groups reportedly subject Iranian women, boys and girls to sex trafficking in Iran, Afghanistan, the Iraqi Kurdistan region, Pakistan and United Arab Emirates, and Europe. Some Iranian women seek employment to support their families in Iran are vulnerable to sex trafficking. Traffickers target Iranian girls between the age of 13 and 17 for sale abroad. Young girls may be forced into domestic service until their trafficker considers them old enough to be subject to child sex trafficking. In 2016, there was a report increase in young Iranian women in prostitution in Dubai. Some of these women may be trafficking victims. From 2009 to 2015, girls from and through Iran en route to other Persian Gulf states for sexual exploitation reportedly increased. Iranian girls were subject to sex trafficking in brothels, especially Soleimania in Iraq. In some cases, this exploitation was facilitated by Iranian trafficking networks. In 2015, the media reported Kurdistan regional government officials were among the clients of these brothels. In Tehran, Tabriz, and Astra, the number of teenage girls exploited in sex trafficking reportedly continues to increase. Afghan migrants and refugees, including children, are highly vulnerable to sex trafficking. In 2007, the United States State Department placed Iran as a Tier 2 in its annual trafficking in person report, stating that it does not fully comply with the minimum standard for the elimination of trafficking, but is making significant effort to do so. In 2010, U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton downgraded Iran to 3, noting that the country makes no significant effort to resolve trafficking problems, mainly prostitution and forced labor. Last, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi provided a safe place for John to meet a sex worker. Everyone was safe from any harm. However, Iranians sell their bodies to make a living due to poverty or are forced to leave Iran by selling their bodies in foreign nations. This portion of the paper discusses how Iranian intellectuals were clueless about Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi's domestic policies. Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi charged with disenfranchising freedom of speech. Dr. Ali Shariati, born on November 3, 1933, and he passed away on June 18, 1977, was an Iranian revolutionary and sociologist who focused on sociology of religion. He is held as one of the most influential Iranian intellectuals of the 20th century. He has been called the ideology of Iranian revolution, but he never had a chance to see that what he's striving for to become a reality. Dr. Ali Shariati was thinking outside the box. One day during his religious service, he created parallel reasoning between Saint or Imam Hussein and Che Guevara. Dr. Hussein Nas rejected Dr. Shariati and excommunicated with Dr. Shariati. Dr. Hussein Nas recently accused Dr. Shariati as a spy of the king's secret agent. And his claim is this, because when he was asking for a fund, the king was giving it to him. And now, think about it this way. They were saying, Khomeini was saying, king does not believe in God, does not believe in Muhammad, but every time Shariati, who is a religious, who is speaking against king's domestic policy. He says, okay, you need a fund, whatever you need, he was providing. Shariati is one of them. Like there was a cleric with the name of Beheshti. He was asking money from Queen of Iran to have an establishment, like a library, mosque. They did it, okay? It is like where I am in Canada, I cannot go to the Queen of England and say, I want money for this purpose. Even it could be justifiable. Head of state of Canada is Queen of England. Okay, I go to Prime Minister of Canada and say, I want this fund, and Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, writes a check for me. Okay, we are living in a different era. Okay, there is a political evolution exists. At that time, that was how it was done. Okay, you would write a letter. You could write a letter to Farah Pahlavi and ask her for something, and she would help you. Okay, these are facts. These are not my way. And yes, there were social programs in place. When I attended school in Iran, I had my breakfast, I had my lunch, everything. It was depends what time I was going. Okay, whatever you want. There were social programs in place. Okay, not this intellectual. Not this is what inspired me to write this. Hossein Nas is living in the United States, having a great time. Iranian women are selling their bodies. Shame on you! You call yourself a religious man, Nas? You're not even close to God. Shame on you. That's why I wrote this paper, just for you. I am a religious man, and Shariati was working. No, you are the one who is working for Satan. That's the reality. You better accept it. You're going to the hell. I promise you. In conclusion, after Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi left Iran and Khomeini controlled every facet of life in Iran, he said, economic is for donkey. You don't believe me? Don't believe me. He said it. The social structure of Iran began to deteriorate as people lost their purchase power and Iran's economy began to plummet to ground zero. Iranians are leaving Iran to sell their bodies or are staying in Iran and are selling their bodies. Doesn't matter. Whatever they do is a lost game. Except for Rambo the Javan is coming to Canada. Except those revolutionary peoples are having a great time in Iran. They bring money to Canada and other nations. The saddest part of the story is that Dr. Nas is enjoying a great life in US while Iranians are struggling. The city of Mashhad is where Saint Reza is buried, and Shia Muslims built a huge shrine for him to honor him. It turned into a common place for Iraqis to come to this city to meet sex workers. I have no problem with the Iraqi people, but I'm just stating a fact here. And remember, it is so horrible, a city which is must be respected. Sex workers. Remember, sex in Iran's case, sex workers are forced. Yes, maybe they're not forced by man or another woman, but they're economic. Emil Durkheim talk about external forces. Economic is pushing them because they don't have money to eat. They don't have money to pay for the roof. In my view, there was nothing wrong with Dr. Shariati's saying Imam Hussein and Che Guevara were saying. Even I have made that comment. When I look at Karl Marx talking about proletarian revolution, it is the same as what Muhammad or Jesus are saying. That the end of the time will be coming and a savior will come in and the whole world will become a good place. And that's the workers' revolution. Karl Marx is saying it. It's a parallel reason. It's understanding, making a reason. And he gets upset. Dr. Nas gets upset. How dare of you comparing or parallelism? So if you're not able to process simple ideas, connecting them, that illustrates to me what your PhD means. Your PhD means nothing, because you cannot process simple ideas. You're so entrapped in your own little world that you're looking at it through this prism. That is Dr. Nas for you. The Islamic Republic of Iran's ideology collapsed because the individuals who started the revolution were clueless, individuals who had no idea how the real world worked. Yes, that's the reality. That's the reality, that these people who start the mayhem and chaos, that the king is bad, king is this, that, and they were accusing him for, and Dr. Shariati was banned, and he was receiving salary. Look at the mentality of Nasr. Says that they had to cut back your food. So how was he supposed to feed his family? So how the king was horrible? All you people saying the king was bad and living in the United States, and you guys were saying United States is bad and you guys are in United States? How hypocrite you people are. How hypocrite. You people are disgusting. Disgusting, even not the shame anymore. Not shame, disgusting. من واقعا متاسفم و چرا متاسف نیستم که متاسف هستم که آدم هایی که اصلا هیچ چیزی نمیدونستن یک انقلابی بر علیه شاه ما انداختن. خب ما میتونیم بگیم آمریکایی‌ها کردن، اینا کردن، اون کردن، ولی بازیگرانی هم بودن که این وسط این انقلاب رو راه انداختن. یکی از این بازیگران همین نصره. خب که اول از همه بیایم موقعیت، من خیلی معذرت میخوام این کلمه رو بکنم، خانم ها یا مردم هستن، 100% مردا هستن، تو این گزارش ها نمیشه پیدا کرد، مردایی هم باید باشن که خودفروشی میکنن. من خیلی متاسفم بابت این. و در زمان شاهنشاه آریام بزرگ ارتشداران یه مکانی بوده به نام شهر نو در شهر تهران، جای امنی بوده، میرفتن اونجا. در انگلیسی جان میگن، من در فارسیش نمیدونم چی میگن. من هیچ گونه اینجور کارا رو خوشم نمیاد و خب بالاخره میگن oldest profession، یکی از کارهای خیلی قدیمیه. prostitution، sex worker یکی از کارهای خیلی قدیمیه. و شاه خمینی خیلی شاهو به خاطر فحشا 24 ساعته شاه فحشا آورد توی مملکت. من این ویدیو کلیپ ها رو درست میکنم، امیدوارم که چیزهای تاریخ فراموش نکنه. من به این امید دارم درست میکنم که تاریخ فراموش نکنه. اگه کتاب می نویسم به امیده که تاریخ فراموش نکنه، بیان نگاه کنم بگن آها این شخص این حرف رو گفته. و این بود. چون من یه بار دیدم یه نفر نوشته بود که مثلا البته این شخص طرفدار پادشاه هستن، اسمش رو نمیخوام بگم، گفتم نه، خانمم بودن، گفتم هی به شاه میگفتم فحشا خمینی فحشا بودن. اون آدمایی هم که تیربارون میکردن میگفتن شما فحشا آوردید، نمیدونم مبارزه با خدا، از اینجور کثافت کنید. چون احتمال داره ماها یواش یواش یه چیزا رو فراموش کنیم، ولی بیایم فراموش نکنیم. اینو من در گذشته هر کتابی من نوشتم برای همین بوده. نمیخوام پول میخوام، نه چیزی میخوام. ببین زمان مثل طلا میمونه. من میتونم این زمانو بذارم برم بازی کنم، ولی مسئولیت دارم. یک کتابی هستش اینجا میگه مسئولیت. من اینه با آقای جاستس، عدالت، مایکل سندر. بعد به درون خودم پی برم که من مسئولیت دارم، وظیفه من این کار رو انجام بدم. و گرامر من خوب نیست، انگلیسی من خوب نیست، فارسی من خوب نیست، من همیشه گفتم معذرت میخوام، ولی یه وظیفه دارم که اینا رو بنویسم، اینا باشه که مردم بخونن، بدونن چی شد تو ایران، بدونن چه خاک بزرگی سیاهی به سر ما ریختن. همین دانشمندان که من PhD دارم از این دانشگاه خارجی، ولی یه دونه کلمه رو نمیفهمه. من طرفدار آقای شریعتی نیستم، من نمیشناسم، نه کتاباشو خوندم، نه آشنایتی دارم. یه چیزایی شنیدم، یه چیزایی دیدم، یه چیزای مختصری خوندن در رابطه با ایشون. خب ولی مثلا این آقای حسین نصر میگه که من PhD دارم و من با خدام و اینا، ولی وقتی آقای شریعتی میاد در رابطه با چه گوارا صحبت میکنه، میگه امام حسین و چه گوارا یکی هستن و ایشون نمیفهمه، اخم و تخم میکنه، من دیگه نمیخوام با تو صحبت کنم، تو اخی هستی برو این بر. آقا خجالت داره، تو PhD نداری، تو حتی فکر کنم لیسانس هم نداری. اون موقع به همه شما PhD و همه چیز میدادن که بری با شاه بجنگی. میشناسیمتون چی هستی. ببینید توی مملکت چیکار کردی؟ آقا این از فکر میکنی میری بهشت، تو که پایه‌گذارهای اون جهنم هستی، پایه‌گذار اون جهنم هستی. الان خانوما دارن بدنشون رو میفروشن، من میگم مردم هستش ولی روش نمیشه بگه، دارن اینا رو میکنن، کلیه میفروشه، 100 تا کار میکنه، دونگه دونگه خود از تو میپرسه. من نتونستم این زاویه رو بدم تو این مسئله، ولی یادتون باشه حضرت عیسی اومد آدما رو نجات بده. خب با پراستیتوت بود، تکس کلکت، مالیات جمع میکنن، با همه آدمایی که بد بودن با اینا بود، به اینا کمک کرد، تنهاشون نذاشت، با مردم بود. نصر تو اگه واقعا خدا پرستی کجا هستی؟ این از این. واقعا من خجالت میکشم این چیزها رو میارم. ببینید من از دین اسلام برگشتم شدم مسیحی، کاری ندارم. حتی زیارت امام رضا رفتم، شهر مشهد رفتم اون موقعی که مسلمان بودم. خب بالاخره هر چیز باشه یه شهر مقدسیه. من یادم بود میگفتن خربوزاش خیلی شیرینه به خاطر اینکه امام رضا اینجا به خاک سپرده شده. گیلاساش شیرین‌تر و درشتر از جاهای دیگه ایرانه به خاطر اینکه امام رضا اینجا به خاک سپرده شده. اینا اعتقادات مردمه. ببینید این اعتقادات ریشه و پایه داره. من تو اینجا گفتم ماها ایران یک کشور مذهبیه، از دین میترا بگیریم که رفته تو روم، بعد زرتوش هست، یه دین پایه داره تو ایران، من اینو دارم میگم. بعد شهر مشهد شده بانکوک. خجالت آوره، خجالت آوره، واقعا خجالت آوره. و این بچه ملاها و این بچه پاستور چیکار میکنن؟ پولا رو میارن کانادا، پولا رو میارن آمریکا قایم میکنن. اون یکیش نمیدونم تو انگلیسه با ماشینای اگه ماشین میخوای بخری مونده بالا، اونی که بود تو تورنتو نشون میداد، اون مردم گفتش که تو کی هستی و فلان و اینا. آقا 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 خاک تو اون سرت. واقعه 2 نقطه است یا 1 نقطه است؟ تو آقا آقا میکنی، تو از خودت نمیپرسی، نمیگی که من این کار رو میکنم بچه مردم تو ایران غذا ندارن؟ خجالت نمیکشی؟ خاک اون تو سرتون بشه بی غیرت ها، بچه ملاهای بی غیرت، پاسدارهای بی غیرت که پولا رو میارید تو این کشورهای خارجی خرج میکنید، خونه های موند و لوکس میخرید. تو تورنتو یکیشون این اومده، آره نگاه کنیم ببین من چه تو محله بزرگی دارم زندگی کنم. خاک تو اون سرت بشه. ما میتونستیم همونو تو ایران داشته باشیم. من ناراحت نیستم که مثلا چرا خونم اینجوریه اونجوریه، نه، برای اینکه به انجیل باور دارم. تو انجیل خدا میگه اینایی که میبینید این کارهای بدی رو میکنن میکنمشون، مثل علف هرز میکنن. یه روزم خدا میاد شماها رو میکنه و هیچ ریشه از شماها نخواهد گذاشت. بله این انقلاب اسلامی و این حکومت اسلامی شکست خورد به خاطر اینکه کسانی که اون انقلاب عظیم آوردن بالا خودشون از هیچی خبر نداشتن. همین نصر که PhD داره، همین نصر